Hi witches, welcome to the Witching Week. Today is episode 115. Today we're looking at some summer topics. We're looking at elderflowers, in particular vegan Turkish delight. We're looking at some charity shop finds and how charity shops can be really good for picking up pagan items. And of course, with only a week to go, we are looking at the summer solstice. So grab a cup of tea, put some incense on, get comfy, and we'll explore the Witching Week. Welcome back everybody, thank you for being here, thank you for watching, and welcome especially to our new subscribers. We've had loads of them this week, so welcome. Every Friday we get together for a cup of tea and a bit of a chinwag. We talk about what's been going on last week and the week to come. We look at the turn of the wheel and the changing of the seasons and things like the weather and astrology, and we just have a lovely sort of cup of tea in the kitchen together while we go through all of this. So welcome. If it's your first time watching, welcome. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. It really helps the channel. There's a huge proportion of people watching, and I think they're watching every week, but they haven't subscribed, and it does really, really help. So tea and incense. Today I'm not drinking any tea. Someone gave me a bottle of water yesterday, so I'm drinking that at the moment. It's sparkling water, which doesn't bode well for when you're trying to talk. I'll probably be burping everywhere, so my apologies there. I'll try not to do that. And I am burning some Swanasai incense, which says it fulfills your wishes instantly. I really love these traditional Indian incenses. So I made some intentions, and we'll see, won't we? We'll see whether my wishes are fulfilled instantly. How are you all doing? We have finally entered the run-up to the solstice, summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. How are you feeling about this? You know my feelings on this. I'm feeling very bittersweet about it. I am loving the energy at the moment. We have been really, really busy. It always seems to get really, really busy for about 2 or 3 weeks in June, and whilst I'm absolutely loving it and all the things that are going on, I must admit I'm exhausted, and I am ready now. I think once the next week has been and gone, I'm ready to settle into a more quiet, settled energy and time, and I guess that is like the natural flow of things, isn't it? I think one of the positives of the autumn is that sort of slowing down of energy for a while, because then obviously at Christmas it all goes a bit mental, doesn't it? And being a witch, October is always very busy as well. But yeah, so absolutely loving it. And if we're talking summer solstice, then we're going to talk elderflowers. We have an abundance on the cemetery this year. We're really, really lucky to literally have them on hand. And I've finally mastered vegan Turkish delight, elderflower Turkish delight. I don't like the rose variety. And throughout my entire life, whether I've been vegetarian or vegan or a meat eater, I just will not deal with pork gelatine. It is disgusting stuff. And if there is a way to make something without using animal products, then that's always good. I have finally mastered it. I spent several days last year trying to make vegan Turkish delight and trying different recipes. So I made a regular batch of Turkish delight using pork gelatine, which was disgusting. The outcome was lovely, but then I could use that framework, understanding how to make it, and it is quite easy. And then, you know, I use that information to try and make a vegan version, and I failed. I tried several recipes from online. I realised I needed to use some veggie gel. I ran out of time in the end. The elderflowers are gone. I'd spent hours and hours on this project, and I said I would master it this year, and I have, and I managed to do it the first time around, which is amazing because I did not take the exact instructions from the veggie gel on the back. I felt that it needed a bit extra, and I had a rough idea of the amounts that I needed to use. So using that, my first batch, I managed to nail it, so I'm so happy with that. So the recipe goes out on Patreon today, so if you want that and you want early access to videos, loads of articles on witchcraft and magical correspondences and spells and rituals, all sorts of bits and bobs, recipes. We're going to have some remedies on there at some point as well. Come and join us and you'll find that recipe. Everything's very well organised into different folders, which is why I enjoy Patreon so much. It's not like social media. We do have community areas for chatting and getting to know other members, but it is mainly a database of articles. I can do long form articles on there. I can write more than I can on social media. And it's just a much safer space, really. People are paying to be there. It's like the difference between a free dating site and one that's paid for. It's a quality place. So yeah, I finally mastered that and I am just so excited. And you know, the summer solstice is coming up when there are elderflowers around. That's usually part of my traditions, working with elderflower in some way, even if it's just cooking. And usually I end up making something ahead of summer solstice celebrations. So I've still got a little bit more time with the elderflowers before they disappear. Elder is actually probably one of my favourite trees. It's, yeah, probably my favourite actually. It's up there with oak and rowan. Those are my two favourites. And we've spoken about elderflower and her folklore many times on the Witching Week. And I just wanted to show you this book. My hubby gave me this book at Yule, and it is all about elder, which is why it's called Lady Elder Tree. It's about northern plant animism and witchcraft, and it's by Joseph S. Hopkins and Runa Hana Rasmussen. I've probably messed that name up, but there we go. I've probably mispronounced that. So the elder is actually referred to in the Hávamál, which translates as the sayings of the High One, and it is referred to as a tree which sort of protects against household strife. So it's seen as a warden tree that should be planted near the home. I wanted to read a little excerpt for you from the Hávamál. I love this book. It's full of illustrations and poetry and prose, and then there are bits from the Hávamál and there are various different translations. So I'm going to read to you the stylized English translation from Hopkins, who wrote the book, 2024, but there is also another English translation from 1922 here, and then there is the old Icelandic. So very, very interesting book. I advise you, Lord Fafnir, if my advice you take, from it you'll benefit, much good you will gain. When you drink ale, choose earth's might, and so take earth against ale, and fire against illness, oak against bowbind, corn against sorcery, elder tree against household strife, call upon moon against anger, heather, worms, against bite illnesses, and runes against malice. One must take land against flood. So as you can see there, it is mentioned elder tree against household strife. I thought that's really interesting, and the Hávamál dates back to the 1200s. So obviously there were magical beliefs about elder back then, and then the next sort of, I guess what they consider to be the first proper historical reference to elder in literature is in the 1600s. So yeah, really great book. Check it out if you can. It's a really unique and approachable book when it comes to learning about elder. I mean, there is lots of interesting things that dip into all sorts of topics, but yeah, absolutely wonderful book. And I wanted to show you some more books I got in at the charity shop this week, and we're going to talk a little bit about finding pagan items in charity shops, but I just wanted to show you some absolute bargains that I found. So I was actually looking at a cookery book first of all, which was £1, and neither of us, my husband or I, had any money on us. We only had cards, and I thought, I can't buy a book for £1 using a card because I think most places incur credit card charges, and I wouldn't mind so much in a shop or in a big sort of chain, but for a small shop, or in particular a charity shop, it just doesn't seem fair. So I ended up finding some more books. Again, they were only £1 each, and I managed to get 3 Philippa Gregory books for £1 each. This is a set, there's the fourth one missing, which is the Kingmaker's Daughter. So it's a shame I haven't got that one, but I'm sure I can find that one. Even if I pay full price for that one, I've still got the set for an absolutely amazing price and bargain. I've started the White Queen. I don't know if any of you watched the series. That's what this image has been taken from. I absolutely loved it, to the point where I've got it on DVD. And the reason I love this so much, and if you don't know what these books are, these are it's a historical drama based on the battles and the arguments and the conflict between the House of York and the House of Lancaster. So we're talking War of the Roses, we're talking about 1469, around this time. But the reason I love this series so much is that Elizabeth, who is the character here, the main character, the protagonist, Elizabeth and her mother Jacquetta are said to be descended from a water goddess called Melusina, and so there is a lot of mentions of water and water witchcraft and spells that involve water, or spells that involve being down by the river, which you see in the series. And so yeah, it combines two of my favourite things, history and witchcraft. And they're just really, really easy to read, but that doesn't mean that the language isn't beautiful. It is. And yeah, I've been working my way through this one, and I have to say I'm really, really enjoying it. So let me know if you have read these books. I would love to know what you thought of them. I'm not entirely sure which order I'm supposed to read them in, if I'm honest. I'm going to do the Red Queen next, and then the Lady of the Rivers, which I'm assuming is just going to be about Elizabeth and then her mum. But yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, that's what I'm reading at the moment. But that takes me on really to the next item I found, which is really the point of talking about charity shops. So I found this in the week. I was going to a full moon drumming circle, and there was a drum in the charity shop, and I hadn't bought it when I'd seen it originally. I went back and bought it, and while I was there, I found this beautiful candle holder. Now, I'm actually a lover of these old-fashioned, like wee Willy Winky candle holders. I've got a few of them at home. I love using them, and I will sometimes carry a candle up to bed. I've been known to do that. But the reason I love this so much is it's basically made out of brass holly leaves. And yeah, it's quite a jagged item. It's got quite a holly-like energy to it. And that is just going to be absolutely beautiful on my Yule altar. There's no date on it, so I'm assuming it's quite old. And this is the thing I find about these old items, is that they really hold the energy of a season well. You can find lots of things in charity shops, especially if you're in a rural area like I am. And they feel very, very pagan, and very much got a pagan feel to it. I mean, it's doing its job brilliantly. It absolutely looks like holly. So yeah, brilliant for pagan finds. So if you're new to the path, if you're new to being a witch or being a pagan or any magical path, and you want items for your altar, go and have a look around traditional charity shops. I have found so many brilliant things over the years that have just been perfect. They had a statue, an Egyptian statue, like a little one, in a gorgeous sort of tealy green colour, and it had BM written on the side, so I'm assuming that's British Museum, and I really wanted it, but I could only buy so much, so I'm going to go back and see if that's there. But yeah, if it had been like a figure of Bast, then I would have just bought it there and then. But yeah, I was sort of umming and ahhing over it. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. And I did get my drums, so we were going to a full moon drumming circle with my moot, and I've got a baran, but I haven't learned to play that yet, so I thought, no, I'm not going to take that. So I went back to the charity shop and I found the bongos, and they were listed for £20, but I was only charged 10, which was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I was very, very pleased with my charity shop finds this week. I haven't been around the charity shops in months. And yeah, it just shows you that you cannot go for ages. And when I had been going, I hadn't found anything interesting, and I went out with the intention that I would find something, and sure enough I did. So that takes me on to my next topic, actually talking about the drum. I'm going to talk about full moon in Sagittarius, which we have just had on Wednesday. It was absolutely beautiful. It was the strawberry moon, so it did have this incredible sort of pinky orange tinge to it. And I've been really thinking about the moon a lot. I've been thinking that I need to work with the moon more. Don't get me wrong, I will work with the moon and moon phases, but I'm very much sort of concentrated on the sun. I love the sun, I'm very pulled to that, but I have an awareness that I need a bit more balance. So this was brilliant, really. Getting out to a full moon drumming circle helped me sort of meet that intention. And I thought I'd talk about the full moon in Sagittarius. I know we've just had it. There's a reason why I'm going to talk about it, even though we've just had it. So the full moon in Sagittarius is very future focused. It's very direct in energy, and it gives you the push to walk away from something that is no longer serving you. It's no longer helping you, and find something better, basically. And I really felt that energy this week. And this is considered to be a huge turning point. I don't know if any of you have felt that. Let me know in the comments. And the reason I'm talking about this is because even though that event has passed a couple of days ago, there may be things in motion as a result of that event that are affecting you. And now you know this, you might think, this makes perfect sense. So I thought I'd talk about how you can find out ahead of the full moon what that full moon is all about. Now, there are obviously resources like the Full Moon Diary by Yasmin Boland, the Moonology Diary, and that's really, really helpful. I really enjoy using that. But I wanted to recommend a couple of astrologers to you that I personally really, really love. So there is Philippa Gregory Astrology. She is mainly on Facebook. That is where her main page is, and where you can find her videos and her posts and all her information. I did find her on Instagram, but I think that's more of almost like a personal page. She only had a couple of hundred people following that. That is not really where she puts out her things. So we're looking at Facebook for Pam Gregory. And then there is Eliza Kelly, and her main page again is Instagram rather than Facebook. So Pam is on Facebook, Eliza is on Instagram, that's where she puts all her stuff. She again is on the opposite, so she's on Facebook, but she doesn't seem to be using that page much. So go and check these two ladies out. They are absolutely brilliant. There are a few other astrologers as well. Just search astrology on Instagram, have a look at accounts, and you'll see who the big hitters are. Yeah, I feel like there has been a massive shift this week in how I am approaching things and how I am approaching life. I'm definitely feeling that energy, and that hasn't gone yet. Obviously we have a lead up into the event and a lead out of the event. We do move through moon signs every sort of 2.5 days though, sun signs every 2.5 days when it comes to the moon, but again, things set in motion by that event will still very much be playing out. So I'm definitely going to be paying much more attention to the moon. That is my plan for the next 6 months. And it doesn't mean that I'm inexperienced, in terms of being a witch, but we're all different in our witchcraft practice. I've been doing this now for sort of 29 years, and I have other areas that I work more, with. So yeah, there isn't this set rule that to be a witch you have to work with the moon and have a great passion for the moon. I love the moon. I worship the moon the same I do the sun, but in terms of working with energies, I get much more excited and enthusiastic about working with solar energy rather than lunar energy, but I'm striving for balance. So I'm going to be a little bit more moon focused. I want to bring that balance back into my own witchcraft practice. So with only 1 week to go, we are going to talk about the solstice. It makes sense to do that. The solstices happen twice a year. They happen when one of the Earth's poles has its maximum tilt toward the sun. And we have the summer solstice coming up in the northern hemisphere and the winter solstice coming up in the southern hemisphere. So for us in the north, we have the longest day and the shortest night. and the solstice is a period of standstill. The word solstice comes from the Latin solstitium, which means sun stands still. Not easy if you have a bit of a lisp like me. So this time is actually a pause. We get to a point where the day is a certain length, and that does not change for 2 to 3 days. Sometimes it's a bit less, and then the days will start to get longer or start to get shorter, depending on which hemisphere you're in and depending which solstice you are celebrating. So in the northern hemisphere, we're going to start to lose a minute or so. In fact, to begin with, it's actually less than a minute, but then it quickly gathers pace, and then it'll be a minute, and then it'll be a couple of minutes, and then as we get towards the winter solstice, that will really pick up pace, and we will be losing a lot of light every day. So this year, the summer solstice in the UK is on the 21st of June at 3:41 a.m. and this date actually changes every year when we have solstice. I see the confusion when it lands on a day that isn't the 21st, but because we're talking an astronomical event, it's obviously based on the sun and the earth and what's happening. So it does move. It's a movable feast in terms of our celebrations. But some pagans do celebrate on the 21st every year because, well, that is the celebration of Litha, for example, for June. But also it can just make life easier in terms of organisation, and also it just might be tradition for them. So next year will also be the 21st of June, and it's going to be the 21st of June every year until we get to 2028. And in that year, it will be the 20th of June at 9 p.m. I've already got the dates and times. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about some of the themes surrounding the summer solstice. Obviously, we're celebrating the sun's zenith, the peak power, the peak light, peak warmth, and the abundance that we associate with this time of year. You've only got to look around at the trees and bushes and flowers and just see that natural abundance. And that is often mirrored in our life at this time with all sorts of lovely things going on. It feels very abundant. There's lots of fairs and barbecues and time spent with family. It's just an easy time of year to get out and about and celebrate, isn't it? It's much easier to feel that abundance than perhaps in the darkest, coldest part of the year in winter. It's a time where we recognise fertility. Again, we just look at the burgeoning energy and growth around us, and a time to connect with nature. We celebrate this connection with nature, and again, you know, we have picnics, we have barbecues, we go for walks, we go camping, we go on holiday. We celebrate the light and warmth. And because of all of this, we celebrate our joy and our playfulness. We also look at change. We also look at, I suppose traditionally, there would be a preparation for harvest. Those preparations would begin, although harvest obviously comes a little bit later. And it is the last kind of hurrah before the hard work of the harvest. This is the last sort of celebratory moment where we can let our hair down a little bit before the hard work of harvest communities would begin. And we really celebrate the triumph of light over darkness. That is a major theme for celebrating the summer solstice. So we're going to be asking ourselves at this time of year, what change is going to come? What change will happen as a result of moving into the darkest part of the year? And how will we change? What change do we want to see? What change do we want to sort of put in motion and enact? I think change is a huge theme for this time of year because we're standing at a real threshold point. And then if you're in the southern hemisphere, winter solstice themes are sort of similar in that we celebrate this cyclical nature of life and of who we are as people. There is also the celebration of the triumph of light over darkness, but that is because the coldest, darkest part is current, and then we'll be coming out of that. There is a celebration of rebirth and renewal, return of the sun and of ourselves. And there's this promise, isn't there? There's a feeling of hope and promise, because there is this promise of the return of the light and the warmth. And I suppose for many, there'll be some feelings of relief. That's how I feel at the winter solstice. For me, it's all centered on relief that the sun and the warmth and the light is going to come back. So we could have a look at these themes and come up with some questions and some topics for reflection and for journaling and even for celebration. There's no right or wrong way to work with these themes or to celebrate these themes or to use these themes. So let's ask ourselves, how can we be more playful? How can we have more fun? It's really, really easy when you're busy and there's a lot going on to become a bit too serious and to miss out on the fun part of life. And I really feel that at this time of year we should actually really embrace having fun. How can we connect more with nature? It might seem like an obvious question. It might seem like you're doing it anyway, but for some people, they don't connect with nature. It might be something they want to do but don't know how. They might not have a garden. They might not know where their green spaces are and where they can go to connect with nature, and they might feel that that is more complex than it actually is. What abundance do we have? That's always, even though we sort of look at the harvest festivals as festivals of gratitude, I don't think it hurts to show that gratitude every turn of the wheel, whether we're in the depths of winter at Yule and Imbolc or whether we're in the summer months and the harvest months. What abundance do we have and how can we be grateful for that? What would we like to change? So I've shared some intentions that I am making at the summer solstice, so at this time, around this time. I've shared those over on Patreon and you guys will see them here on YouTube a week later, which will be the 16th, so in a few days' time. In the short term, I'm trying to make the intention that, this is okay, stay in the moment, go with the flow. It is a very bittersweet time for me, summer solstice, and it is something that I struggle with. So I'm going to celebrate the zenith. I'm going to concentrate on celebrating the zenith, and then leave the sort of the feelings and the thoughts about the fact that we're entering the dark half of the year. I'm going to try and ignore them until we're in the darker half of the year. And at that point it's happened. So there will just have to be acceptance. So I'm trying not to think about that. It is a thought that pops up a couple of times a day. I'm trying to brush that aside and just concentrate on what I have at that given moment. So I'd love to know how you're celebrating solstice. Are you in the northern hemisphere? Are you in the southern hemisphere? Is this time happy or sad for you? Maybe you're really looking forward towards autumn. I know that some people really, really love celebrating the summer solstice because the next one, they are just overjoyed because it's that first step towards autumn. We will have a little bit of a solstice celebration next week on the Witching Week, I think. I'm going to do some cards now for you for the rest of the week. Let me know how you are doing. Let me know what you've been up to. Let's see what we get from the cards. Okay, so we have got the Knight of Wands, we've got the Knight of Swords, and we have got the 10 of Wands, and we also have the Hanged Man. Now, it's interesting that I've pulled out the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords together. So the Knight of Wands, I call this the Indiana Jones card. As you can see, he's sort of charging in on his horse, and this very much gives us the message to be courageous, be adventurous, go ahead, almost like rush in, just go for it. But interestingly, we've got the Knight of Swords, which I've always felt is like the completely opposite energy. So that's don't rush in, be aware, look before you leap, be cautious, be careful, don't go rushing into a situation. So what can we take from that? Well, I think this is about feeling that you don't know what to do in a situation, because the next card we've got is the 10 of Wands, and that very much speaks of burden and burden of responsibility and feeling like you're carrying a lot on your shoulders. So I think you don't know which way to turn at the moment. And I'm saying you because I've slipped into that sort of like tarot reader thing where I feel like I'm reading for one person, and the truth is that not everybody that watches this video will feel like this message resonates with them. It will only resonate with 1, 2, just maybe a few people. But yeah, there's very much a feeling of not knowing really what to do, which way to turn, how to handle a situation, and it all feels like it's getting on top. And it's really, really easy, you know, when we're faced with a situation like that, to feel that way. I'm not sure what the answer is. I can say that this feeling is only temporary. It's not going to hang around forever. And with all, I feel like this is in relation to a position of responsibility, and all positions of responsibility do have that heavy feeling attached to them sometimes. I mean, this is how we achieve, this is how we grow, this is how we learn. And for success to be within our lives, we'll always have to have some degree of responsibility hanging on our shoulders. But yeah, it feels like this is down to, this is about a decision in relation to quite a heavy job, quite a heavy position of responsibility. And like I said, I don't have the answers other than keep going. Keep going. It's not going to be like this forever. This feeling is going to move soon. But what I will say is, it's going to give you a new perspective on things. It's going to lead to a maturation, a deepening of experience, a deepening of wisdom and knowledge. And you might very well come out of this feeling completely different to how you felt going in. This is going to, yeah, you're going to see things from a different point of view, and you might even change your mind. You might even change your stance, you know, in comparison to where you were before. So stick with it. The answers will come. You'll find a way. You'll find a path through. And with that message, I'm going to leave you. Have an absolutely wonderful witching week, and I'll see you next week for another episode. All right, sending you lots of love and blessings. Take care. Bye.